Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm excited about this one because today I will show you how I created this 2D explosion. Check it out. Now this is all just done frame by frame in straight ahead type animation. And what you see me doing now to start with is to just go through the blocking in phase, where I start by animating the general movement of the whole thing with some loose lines. Looking at the final thing, it looks complex, but you can break it down, and by following a few rules, you could say, it make these things a bit more manageable. At the end of the day, this is basically just simulated by my brain, but there are some interesting ways to approach this that sort of let me disconnect and just let the thing play out by itself. Obviously, there are a lot of decision making involved, but after I've taken a decision to let like a certain part of the element go in one direction, for example, I have to let that bit keep going with its momentum. So what I do is not to always look at the entire explosion as one unit, but break it into smaller parts. And that means I can individually animate each of those elements to not get completely overwhelmed by where all these moving parts are going. Obviously, this explosion is kind of going outwards, so all the elements will sort of transform from small to big and go outwards in all directions. Here I think it's important to remember that this thing should have volume, so there will be some bits that's actually coming towards us as well. This can be really tricky to pull off, so I think that's where a lot of my focus goes. This is quite a puffy, smoky explosion, so I designed the elements to take quite spherical shapes. They grow out quickly, slow down for a second, and then start to break apart at the end. The end state is something I'm still sort of exploring, and I think it can easily look a bit flat when each bit breaks into smaller parts, so I think it's something I might keep working on in the future for other experiments to see if I can optimize that a bit. If you want to see a more in-depth video that's a lot longer about how I animate things like this in real time, then check out my Patreon, where I've been posting a lot of tutorials and workflow videos. This one will be number 12, so there are quite a few to check out there and many more to come. Also, if you want this explosion, you can get access to it there. I will also upload some other 2D effects that you can use for your own projects, so feel free to check that out. Now we got the initial motion solved, and we can play it back and see what it looks like. This bit was actually the quick part. Drawing these frames took around 30 minutes, and the coloring stage I spent a good few hours on. That's when we can really start to define the forms, and it quickly gets quite busy, so it's important to take it one step at a time. I wanted the initial part of the explosion to be vibrant and full of flames, but then quickly gets swallowed into this smoky cloud as it expands. Having the line drawing that we did first really helps, as I can drop the opacity of it and keep that as a guide for where I plan things to go. Especially it's good for overlapping bits and the elements that come towards us. As I mentioned before, I wanted to make sure it had some volume, so to do that we have to use more than one color to define where things are bright and hot, for example, and where it's cooler, and also give it some shadows to show that things are in front of other bits. What's good with these organic shapes is that they're always evolving, so if one blob of orange turns into two, that's completely fine. The main thing to look at is that there is a flow to how things move. You want to consider what happened in the previous frame to decide where to put the next, of course, like any animation, but it's quite forgiving if the shapes are not fully consistent here. What you don't want is motion that suddenly changes direction in like a jagged way, without a smooth bend or so. We have to remember that we started out with a lot of speed outwards in this explosion, so each bit will have to take a specific path with that momentum. I try to imagine that the air has some turbulence in it, so it's not a clean vacuum where each bit just travels straight outwards forever. It sort of gets caught up and stopped or swirled around by the density of the air. What I ended up with are 4 different colors. The orange flames with its yellowish hotspots, and then the reddish gray or brown smoke here with a darker version for deeper shadows. So as I said before, if you do want to see more of what I'm working on, or if you want this asset, for example, then do check out the Patreon page. We're getting quite a few people over there now, so a big shout out to everyone over there who has joined. Your support helps me, of course, to make more of these videos. Also, consider subscribing here on YouTube if you have not. I know there's a lot of people watching that are not subscribed, so please subscribe. Please. Please, sirs, please subscribe. So to finish things up, when I was happy with everything and when I felt like I had put enough details into it, I saved it and took it into After Effects, where I added some final touches to it. I added a bit of glow to the highlights, and also something I really like to do is to add motion blur to 2D effects, and I think that really helps to add that extra layer of impact and speed to the whole thing. Here's the final animation again. I'm curious to see where we can take this. Maybe I'll throw it into some action animation or something. We'll see. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.